Hey folks, this is Gary with 401k Dexter's here. Just headed back home from dropping our daughter and grandson off at their house. My wife went in town to Costco with them to pick up a few things. Their members were not, so our daughter invites us to go along and once, twice a month and pick up a few things that we can buy in bulk and get a little bit cheaper. It saves on the grocery money. So we were afraid that our grandson would fall asleep in the car, and my wife can't quite get him out of the car seat after he's fallen asleep and is just limp. So we dropped things off at the house, and I just took them home, and sure enough, he fell asleep. We had a fun day playing with Grandpa while the girls went out and shopped. So he fell asleep, and we'll get a good nap this afternoon. But I wanted to jump on and talk about the fees associated with certain funds in your 401k. I know we all look for ways that we can cut costs in retirement, and fees associated with certain mutual funds are just one of those. I've talked before about my asset allocation being 60% stocks and 40% bonds. I made a video here not too long ago that talked about how the portfolio had slowly moved closer to a 52-48 balance of 52 stocks and 48 mutual or bonds and T-bills, and how when I looked at the overall performance over time between the, say, 50-50 and 60-40 portfolios, the difference was minimal, maybe 2%. And I got some comments on that video that said, 2% over time can be a significant amount of money, especially when you get up into the 6 and 7 digits of a portfolio. So I went back in here not too long ago. I guess it was about a month ago when the market took a dip, and I balanced out my portfolio back to a 60-40 or close thereabouts. I think right now, this morning, I looked and it was 58 to 42. So close enough to 60-40 for me. But when I did that, I got to looking at the different funds that I hold. Now, we've got a small account over at Jazz Wealth. I've mentioned them before too, and absolutely love how they teach their clients, how they provide lots of tools that you can use to see, how your performance overall is. They've got great retirement tools, calculators available to clients that I've used to evaluate where we are, what our percentage of success is. So really like that we are their clients, but I have not transferred the large amount of money that I had at my employer's 401k at Fidelity over to Jazz, because I'm still using the rule of 55 to access those funds at Fidelity. So for the time being, that money will remain at Fidelity. Now, our money's over at Jazz. After we sat down with our initial discussion and talked about how risk averse we were and where we saw our entire portfolio going and how long it needed to survive to supply us with funds into 30 years of retirement. We looked at where our allocations wanted to be, and I let Justin over there allocate the money that we had there as he saw fit based on our conversations. And then he also looked at our Fidelity funds offered through the employer and suggested several different funds to be invested in. I narrowed that down as I approached retirement, keeping the 60-40 balance between stocks and bonds, but also minimizing the number of mutual funds that I was in. I had it down to essentially 4. One was a stable value that has T-bills and bonds in it for our cash equivalent bucket, and then 3 others. One that was mid-level stocks, mid-size stocks, ones that were large cap stocks, and then another that was a large cap, and I think it was technology. Well, I got to looking at the fees associated with those 3 stock mutual funds and realized that one of them was charging, I want to say it was $3.30 per $1,000 invested, whereas the other 2 were literally, I think, 13 and 16 cents per $1,000 invested. Now you think, all right, well, the smaller 2 at 13 and 16 cents per thousand, that's chump change. But the one that was $3.30 per thousand, now you're talking about, a couple of basis points. Now, when I looked at the stocks that were in those funds, the reality was the large cap funds that I had in the large cap fund overall included the stocks that were in the technology large cap fund that I had also been invested in. So I had the same stocks in 2 different mutual funds, yet I was paying a tremendous amount more in fees to duplicate those stocks in that second technology fund mutual fund. So I went in and I made transfers. I got out of the expensive fee-based technology mutual fund and put that money, spread that in between the large cap and the mid cap mutual funds, still maintaining my 60-40, but overall saving myself money in fees in the long run. So just a tip, an idea, put it on a honey-do list. Go out and check your mutual funds, dig down into the details, see what you're paying in fees, and see if then you can either switch to a similar mutual fund that has lower fees, or find something else to reduce that fee that you're paying out that you may not be aware of. So just an example of what I've done with my finances. This is not financial advice. You do you and I'll do me, but I just thought I'd share what I did to try to save a little bit of money in the long term. You guys have a good weekend. 401k Dexters out.